Hello and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We are bringing you Transformers news from around the world and across Australia with no funny puns in the intro line this week. This is episode 243. We're out there. We're going to do that again. We are recording live on a locked down Sunday afternoon because most of Australia is now in lockdown. It is August the 8th, 2021. This week, we'll be talking about a lot of repaints, some local and international releases, and the Netflix Kingdom series. All that and more is coming up after this. Hello and welcome to the show. I'm Jason. Joining me this week, we have... I said in the intro that we're all in lockdown, but that's not entirely true. There is one lucky person on this podcast who's not in lockdown, and that is Daria, coming to us from Canberra. How are you doing, Daria?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling sorry for everyone in lockdown.
I'm feeling sorry for everyone in lockdown, including myself, but yeah.
I try not to rub in that I'm running free.
Are you frolicking in fields like a pasture, like I don't know, frolicking in fields like a filly?
The tulips film.
Yes, a tiptoe through the tulips is a much better alliteration, I think. Also coming to us from an undisclosed location in rural Victoria, we do have Brad Mull. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I'm not doing backstroke through Lake Burley Griffith at the moment because it's too bloody cold in ACT.
Backstroke through Burley Griffith, also another good alliteration for freedom, but yes.
Oh, what has this world come to? Let's reunite on this day of nothing else happening to talk about some Transformers.
Well, so I was going to say you've noted in the run sheet under the section that is notable things that happened this week. We're all in lockdown, so probably nothing, and I think that's probably correct.
And it's also something that stays in the run sheet week after week.
Yeah, it's something that survives the copy and paste of items from run sheet from one to the next, especially for those of us in New South Wales at the moment, because we're not getting out of run sheets. We're not getting out of lockdown until probably 2024 at this point. Ah, dear.
Yes,
I did manage to get out and ride the bike around a little bit last weekend, so that was cool. And suddenly it's no longer last weekend, and another 7 days has passed since then, and everything's a blur. Everything really is a blur. Sorry, Daria, you were going to say something there.
I was going to say, if we get out in 2024, it's just in time for the 40th anniversary.
Yes, just in time. Dear oh dear. I don't know what to make of that. That's I don't know.
40 years.
I had my 40th anniversary a couple of years ago, so I'm good.
Yeah, same.
All right, look, we are here to talk about Transformers, not here to lament about lockdown. So, what do you say we bring in the screen share and we'll talk about some Transformers news and some news of the week, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's go.
All right. Brad, we need to put the news jingle in here as well. Anyway, we'll get on.
The audio version does get that.
Yes, I need to put it in here. So we are talking. Going to lead off the news with some notable new releases, both from overseas and from Australia. I don't have all of these on. I don't have all of these to show on the screen share, but just some of the notable ones. First of all, the next wave of Studio Series 86 has hit Asia. It does appear that Amazon Australia's release dates were optimistic and have been slipping. Amazon Australia has been slipping on releases all over the place, which is surprising but not entirely unexpected, given that they were the leaky ship of information for upcoming figures for a really long time. The fact that their release dates are a little bit all over the place is not really too surprising, I guess. So I think Amazon still has these guys scheduled to come out in either later in August or September, and that could still be accurate. But we often see figures come out in Asia and then go to then go to other places and other territories later. So around Asia at the moment, we are starting to see Studio Series 86 Noor pop up. We can see a photo of him from the Freeway Toys website. It's a Hong Kong retailer. I've only just noticed, having had this up for a while, he's got a very different faction symbol on his box. I don't think we've seen that one before.
No, and
it's sort of like a cross between the War for Cybertron mercenaries and something else. But I mean, clearly it's meant to represent not an Autobot or a Decepticon because he's.
But it's not the Quintesson insignia either.
Well, do the Quintessons actually have an insignia for G1?
In the toy line, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I thought they were all just Decepticons in the toy line originally.
Well, the Sharkticons were, but of late they've been stamping mercenary and Quintesson crests on the package, like with the Autobot and Decepticon ones.
Yeah, but that's more for War for Cybertron. But I get like this is a bit of a retroactive update to the lore of the movie.
But that's right. It's not
logo.
The new Quintesson one either. Is where I was going with that, which is what you'd expect if they were going to pick one.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising, isn't it?
Go to the next one, which is Wreck-Gar, and see what if he's Autobot.
Yeah.
He is an Autobot because he joins the Autobots in the end. But anyway, that is the next bit of news is that the Voyager Wreck-Gar is also released as well. So we've seen Slug, who's the third of the Studio Series 86. It's so-called Wave 2, but it's actually like Wave 14 million or something of Studio Series. But
they're really dribbling out.
Oh, they are. They are spacing them out quite a bit. Oh, just got quite a bit of feedback on the. It might just be me. We'll see how I go. If no one else is hearing feedback, then that's good. It has actually been about 6 months since the first Studio Series 86 spots came out, and here's the second round. We are hearing rumors of a third wave, but nothing quite official on that yet. We've heard a lot of rumors about bots like Perceptor and possibly even Blaster getting a Studio Series 86 release. So we'll see what happens. There's definitely more Dinobots to go, and we think that this is probably going to run well into next year as well, in an attempt to sort of get all those Dinobots out. I think we're expecting Sludge as another leader class figure, and then I think Swoop is expected as a Voyager class figure. So there's possibly at least 2 more waves of Studio Series 86 figures to come. These, of course, do match up nicely with figures in the War for Cybertron line, and there's a number of figures that should have been in the Studio Series 86 line that are probably just coming out in Kingdom. So just remember that. To go with Wreck-Gar is also being packed with the Bumblebee movie version of Thrust. Here's a repaint of the Bumblebee Starscream that came out a few months ago, and he is a nice reference to Transformers Armada in his green colour scheme. So we should start seeing these bots turn up on local shelves here, but just know that they are released around Asia. So if you do if your FOMO is really getting to you and you really do want these figures, you can import them, but my advice would be to wait, because the first round of Studio Series 86 figures ended up all over the place, and they still are all over the place. Like you can't swing a cat in a toy store without knocking over Cup or Jazz or Blur. So yeah, they'll be around, I think, and maybe give it a month or so, and if they're not around, then maybe then look at importing them.
Yeah.
Other figures that have been released this month also Shattered Glass Mechatron. So Shattered Glass Mechatron and Shattered Glass Starscream are both hitting the market in Asia at the moment as well. Again, Amazon Australia seems to be not quite on the ball with shipping these figures out. We're not quite sure what's going on, but EB Games should be. Now, I think there's a bit of a fly in the ointment there, because I think EB Games only had one of them up for pre-order, and I think it was either Megatron or Starscream, and the other one was a bit MIA. So you may want to import these ones, because I don't think they're going to turn up at retail in Australia. But see how you go. And of course, if you're a TCCA member, ping me and we can talk about imports.
You've talked about fuck Shattered Glass before. Are you after another Mechatron? Is that the Siege Sculpt again?
Hang on. Did you just call it fuck Shattered Glass?
Well, isn't that what you've said to Shattered Glass in the past?
No, I love Shattered Glass. Half of my shelves are Shattered Glass. It must have been someone else.
Certainly wasn't me.
I'm totes there for it. I'm pretty sure Bradley is there for it as well. Like, I don't know who it must have been. It must have been Max. Don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm hoping for more weirdly morally switched comics. So I'm there for it.
Yeah. Well, so the comics should start coming out around October, I think. Is that about right?
Well, officially they're scheduled for this month, but because they're from IDW,
I like how you say IDW to rhyme with scum.
Well, I love that they do lots of great work, but we're talking about when stuff is supposed to be released, and for whatever you think of their actual content, release schedules are not their forte.
I feel like IDW is usually pretty good with that, but I think they've suffered during the pandemic.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the Back to the Future crossover should have been done, dusted, and collected ages ago, and we only just got the last issue.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's true, and I actually do need to read that. In fact, I need to, being the IDW Transformers comic aficionado that I am, I really need to read some of the new universe, because it's been going for a couple of years now and I've only read 1 or 2 issues of it. So since we are in lockdown, that might be a good idea.
It probably reads better if you read a bunch at once than trying to read little chapters month after month, because it's not ideally paced for a monthly comic, to be honest.
It all seems very slow, but it seems like things are happening now and people are generally pretty happy with the plot progression now, I think. So it's done its world building. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so Shattered Glass, Starscream, and Mechatron are now available around the place. So if you are looking at those two, just know that they are gettable. And as Brad pointed out, it is indeed another use of the Siege Megatron mode. This guy comes with this guy does come with some additional parts to make his alt mode look more like it flies. You will believe a tank can fly.
But from someone who's got 35 generation seekers, I'm sure you're going to get this one as well.
I'm totally getting the Shattered Glass one regardless. So yeah, and anything that's got Shattered Glass on the box is an instant add to cart. Let's move on. Finally, Generation selects Artfire. This guy was announced a few months ago now. I think he might have been announced around March or April. He is now in stock around Asia as well. This also, I think, seems to be scheduled for an October release in the West. So no reason to believe that October release will come forward. I think if you've ordered him from Amazon, you can probably still expect him around then. And I did check my Amazon order, and it does say October, but I'm probably going to import one anyway because I would like to get my hands on him sooner rather than later. I've become quite a fan of the War for Cybertron Inferno and Grapple mold. So yeah, I'm happy to get this possibly last outing for it. We'll see whether they do hauler or not.
Yeah, that I was actually expecting a hauler more than an Artfire because, well, they wouldn't have had to add a whole extra guy to him. But there you go. And they didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just a battle master. His target master anyway. But yeah.
But also because they didn't add one for Stepper/Ricochet. They just recolored him.
Yeah, I think when they did Ricochet, they didn't have the battle masters, did they?
I don't think so.
He was done during Power of the Primes. So yeah. I mean, there's nothing stopping you buying one of the battle masters and pairing them up with Ricochet if you want to.
I already buy Ricochet because you didn't have a guy.
Yeah. There's still a green version of this that can be come out, isn't there? Isn't there
that's the hauler we're talking about.
I'll just step back here in my basement.
It's all right. I think it would be nice to see it because it's been a long time between haulers. I think the only actual official hauler release was the eHobby one from early 2000s. Does that ring a bell, Daria?
Yeah, I can't recall any others.
Didn't Make Toys or someone that done? Oh yeah, official, but yeah, unofficial. That we've seen at least one or two, I think, over the
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
unofficial.
That's
There's
true.
all sorts of things, but yeah,
Filling the holes of our collections
Yeah,
since
no, that's true.
'84.
I'm pretty sure. I think it would have been. I think it was potentially either Make Toys or Ocular Max that would have released their Inferno mold as a.
It might have been Ocular Max because I don't think it was the Hellfire and Wrestle mold that Make Toys did. I think it was that other one.
It'll be one. It'll be one of them. Also, that's a masterpiece scale rather than
Yeah.
a chug figure
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
I still don't really know what I'm going to. I still don't really know what I'm going to do with all of the space on my shelves, which is not that much, and all of these
More
chug
shelves.
figures. Yeah, I haven't got. I need more walls to put more shelves. I don't really know where I'm going to put all of these chug figures. I don't think they're going to stay on display for that long, but I don't know. I've got a bunch of them on my desk at the moment, and they may just stay as things for me to futz around with on my desk. We'll see how they go. How it goes.
And you got
I
the Inferno, didn't you?
I have Inferno. I haven't picked up Grapple yet. It's Grapple is one of those ones where it's just sort of like, well, there's still 1,000 of them within 5 kilometers of me in stock somewhere. So I haven't been in too much of a rush to. But of course, mark my words, by the time I actually do decide to go and pick that up, it will be rare and hard to get.
$100 on eBay.
It is the way of things.
Yeah, but they fixed a lot of the issues between Grapple and Inferno, didn't they?
They did. The grapple mold had an issue with a peg being a bit too tight in one of the holes, and so when you would transform it, it would often break the peg off during the transformation, which is disappointing for a figure that's $50. That was fixed with Inferno, so I would assume that it will continue to remain fixed on Artfire.
You'll be right. Just go to Maya. You'll find it.
Yes, that's right. Generation Select Artfire is out. As you can see, so again, I've got the Freeway Toys Hong Kong site. It says they've got one. So, whether or not it's available in large quantities or not, we'll find out soon. Generation Selects have been a bit funny with their releases this year. I think they made a lot bigger splash in the market last year. I think maybe it was sort of due to the fact that the regular retail releases were a bit staggered out and hard to find last year. But this year, anecdotally, I've noticed that Hasbro seems to be releasing things on the first of the month. So all of these guys ended up released on the 1st of August. I say the 1st, it's kind of the 2nd because the 1st was a Sunday. And then last month, G2 Ramjet came out a few days after that, and I think this might have been what's happened with Artfire as well. So yeah. Other notable releases. I haven't got this up for a picture, but the buzzworthy Bumblebee Origin Bumblebee figure, he is also available. He's oddly expensive, similar to the original core Bumblebee with Spike Witwicky set. We know it's a core class figure, so it should be about $20. But then Hasbro, at least in Australia, Hasbro had issues figuring out where to position it pricing wise because it's got more than a regular core class figure. So it ended up at a deluxe price point of $29, which kind of rubs people a little bit the wrong way. And the Origin version, which is the Cybertronian Bumblebee, again, going to be a very small core class figure. He comes with 4 Energon rods, which from the first episode of the G1 cartoon. He's well into the 30s and close to $40 for his retail price point. We don't know if he's going to come to Australia yet or not. So, as with everything else, I've been importing a bunch of them. But yeah, seeing good demand for it from collectors. I think a lot of people are quite fond of it. A lot of people are quite fond of Bumblebee anyway. But people are quite happy to get this as finally an official representation of Bumblebee's Cybertronian mode, regardless of the size or scale of it. So I think people are quite happy with it. That being said, there's one other thing that we should talk about as well, and I don't know whether I can. I'm going to do this.
Caution to the wind.
No, I'm going to bring a new tab into the screen share, which is this guy. So, Kmart is astonishingly restocking War for Cybertron, Netflix Optimus Prime, and Soundwave. So we've seen multiple sightings of these guys pop up. Soundwave is very well sought after, and considering the price point that Kmart has them at is $50, if you see it on a shelf, just grab it. If you decide you don't like it, you will be able to sell it. There's plenty of we've had a lot of activity in TCCA in the last year of members helping members, and I would fondly hope that if you see these guys in a Kmart store, you might pick them up and offer them to members who are looking for them. Hopefully at a good price. Or hopefully at the price that you paid for them plus a bit of postage. But people are generally happy to pay a little bit of a finder's fee, and there's a lot of us in the country are in lockdown at the moment. I can't go to my local Kmart store and see if this guy's on the shelf. So there's definitely demand for both of these figures out there. The Optimus Prime is a recolor of the Earthrise Optimus Prime mold. We know that's a great Prime. Everyone loves it. The colors here are slightly different. Doesn't have anything to do with Optimus Prime's representation in the Netflix show, so just forget the Netflix branding. He's kind of a little bit more like the G1 toy. In his colors, and if you're a completionist, then you'll definitely be after this Prime. But there's definitely people after both of these figures. We've seen them appear on shelves in Queensland and in Western Australia, which is kind of the only places where Kmart's got stores that are open. So if you do happen to see them, I think you'll definitely find that people will appreciate you picking them up and offering them to people. We haven't seen Mechatron and Hotlink, and I think the fact that these guys have been on sale twice probably means that there's not really that much more demand for them. But roll the dice. People are always up for a seeker, I think, as well. This is a bit of a precursor to Wave 3 Voyages for the Netflix series becoming available in Australia. They haven't been yet. The Wave 3 Voyages are Optimus Primal and Sparkless Seeker. Now, the Sparkless Seeker is, again, it's another Cybertronian Seeker, but he's done up in sort of a dead colour scheme and a bit rusted and dark coloured. And in fact...
I have several here. Let me find one.
Yes. There's 20 of them under my desk. Wait a second. I'm just gonna. There we go. Whether or not you can see him through the light or not, there. So yeah. He's a nice looking thing, and I need to open this guy up. So I might open him up sometime this week. We'll see how we go.
Yeah, well, straight after this, I basically have to go past the Kmart on the way to Burlesque class. So I will look in there and see if I get lucky for myself or anyone else.
That would be great. Also, just on that, you can go to the Kmart website. As you can see, it says this is a sneak peek. The item is coming soon, so you can't order it online, but you can do click and collect if you can find it in store at any of the stores near you. So, look, you could probably roll the dice and order two and hope that you get one of each of Prime and Soundwave. You're unlikely to get Mechatron and Hotlink because I don't think they're back. And you never know if you end up with any of the new ones. The new ones are Sparkless Seeker and Optimus Primal. You might be after those as well. Someone will be. So yeah. Just a bit of a word to the wise about what's coming out in Kmart. And if you have been looking for that Netflix Soundwave and you've been about to give up hope on it, there might be some light at the end of the tunnel. See how you go.
I need them to open the door so I can go and look.
Yeah, it's well. I mean, look, you could always call your local Kmart as well. But I would advise use the stock checker to see whether or not your local Kmart has any stock, and then call them if they do and ask them to put them aside so you can do a click and collect.
because I need essentially to get Soundwave. More than grocery shopping, I need Soundwave.
Well, you never know if you I'm not going to go advising whether or not they're essential or not.
No, we shouldn't.
It varies
Or if
from state.
people barter action figures for food.
Yeah, it varies state to state. New South Wales stores are open, and I know, but they're open for click and collect, right? So you can certainly order these things and go to the store and pick them up in a safe and socially distanced fashion, and keep your face mask on at all times, so that you're not a risk to yourself or any of those around you. I'm not gonna make a call as to whether or not they're essential or not, but please do keep your wits about you.
It is a nice looking Soundwave.
That for sure.
Wait a sec.
Oh, so we're gonna
There he is.
we're gonna message Jason afterwards for context.
Don't message me. I don't have any. This is one that someone actually picked up for me in a Kmart store. Is when this came out in December. I was indisposed and completely unable to go to a Kmart store, so someone kindly picked this one up for me. So yeah, I've got nothing as far as Netflix Soundwaves go. I have been looking for them on eBay to import some, because I do have a small list of people who are looking for them, and I've just sort of stopped now because these guys are coming out locally. Well, coming back.
It's all just a matter of price.
It is. I mean,
how much would it take to take that off your hands?
Well, this one I was happily sold at regular retail price from Kmart, so it was $50. All right. Having done that, I think it's now that we're done talking about news and desires, and well, we're not done talking about news. It is time to move on to news. We're going to go through these not a breakneck pace, but it's been a light week on news. So let's get into it. We are starting with a blurry cam photograph of what looks like it's Transformers Kingdom Shadow Panther. Now we've heard rumors that Shadow Panther is coming in a later wave of Kingdom, possibly wave 4 or 5. I think it might end up being a wave 5 release, or it could be wave 4. I'm not sure. He looks like a bit of a retool of Cheetor, and also I think he also seems to share quite a bit of DNA with the Covert Agent Ravage figure that we've seen as the PulseCon exclusive that is coming later this year. When we first saw photos of that, we pored over every pixel in detail and presumed that was actually a Cheetor repaint, and I would say that this looks a lot more like the Covert Agent Ravage than the original Cheetor figure. So possibly some shared engineering in there. Now, I'm not really that much of a beast aficionado. Brad, are you interested in picking up a Chug Shadow Panther for your collection?
No, I'm sticking to the main cast. Although we'll get to the conversation later when we get to Kingdom. I think any of the main cast from that show, or toy-wise, we're just filling gaps. Filling gaps for what's missing in Beast Wars currently, because that shit ain't Beast Wars, but we'll get there.
I'm not sure what it's filling in for now, but okay, we'll talk about that when we get to the main discussion. Daria, are you looking for Beast Wars characters?
I think the only one who's technically a Beast Wars character I'm really looking for is their version of Ravage, who is sometimes this guy's dad, I think.
Right. Okay. That was completely news to me because, as I said, not a Beast Wars aficionado. So, would you be looking to collect the family or the set?
Mm-hmm. Actually, I could stand having a Beast Wars Ravage, and if this guy's a little bit smaller, then I could have them don't talk to me or my son ever again. So that's good.
I think you're going to find they're about the same size, because I think they're both deluxe redos of Cheetor. So there is a Voyager Tigertron coming who does seem to share, as we've seen with all the Cheetahs and Tigertrons in the last few years, it does seem to share some engineering, but is a much larger figure.
Yeah,
Whether
I've heard
or
about
not
that.
this guy would be a Voyager, I think he's a deluxe.
Yeah, well, he's
haven't-
kind of a niche character, and so they probably keep him at the deluxe mold, seeing as they've already got one for him.
Yeah, very likely, I think.
Yeah, considering they're all cats, they should all be around the same size. I haven't taken Masterpiece Tigertron out of its box yet, so I don't even know what it compares to with Cheetah, but I'm pretty sure he's a little bit
he's
bigger.
much bigger than Cheetah.
Yeah. Which is weird considering they're both cats.
Well, it's because Masterpiece is so fiction-centric, and they were definitely different sizes on the TV show.
Yeah.
All right. Kingdom Shadow Panther on its way at some point. We'll see how that goes. I could be completely wrong about it being I could be completely wrong about it being related to Covert Ravage, but I feel like they're definitely sharing a bit of the retool DNA there. But let's move on. We've also seen this week. We've seen a Repaint-A-Palooza coming out from. Actually, I say this week. It was kind of last week. There's a lot of repaints announced by Takara. There's new entries in the premium finish line, and also 2 new masterpiece repaints. So we're not gonna. Oh, well, we're going to say we're not gonna waste any time. We'll get into the photos of them, but this is the only photo of them. But I think this is kind of the only photos that we need. The Takara Premium Finish line is releasing 1 figure every month from War for Cybertron and 1 from Studio Series, repainted with a premium paint job. And this is the fourth month, so October, November, December. So this should be January's releases. So we're getting a War for Cybertron Starscream, which will be another Tetrajet repaint that people who are collecting all of the Seekers are probably cursing that they're going to have to buy now. He's pretty much the best looking version of that Siege Tetrajet mold that we've seen. But however you feel about the battle damage will probably color whether or not you go for the premium finish version of the figure. I'm not a huge fan of it myself, and I'm not really sure that I'm going to go for any of the premium finish versions of these figures, but we will see. Moving across to the right, we also have the Studio Series Ratchet, who is getting a premium finish treatment. It's not entirely clear what the premium finish paint job will do there, but I assume that it's going to be a better match for his on-screen appearance and with better details and highlighting as well. We also saw 2 masterpiece figures revealed. There is a masterpiece Nightbird, which is a repaint of RC. We've seen Takara and Hasbro reuse their Chug RC for Nightbird quite a bit in the last few years, and so it's not really too much of a surprise to see the masterpiece RC mold go this route. Otherwise they can't really repaint it into much more. There's a few more options that are sitting around. You could do a Lifeline and possibly even a Leader 1 if they wanted to go there. But Nightbird's been met with quite some praise from the community. They like the look, they like the character. She comes with a range of accessories. You can see the size attached to her arms there in the photo, and of course it's a new head sculpt. The new head sculpt also seems to work a little bit better with the RC sculpt. There was a lot of controversy about the positioning of the chest on RC, but it makes a lot more sense when you look at where the sort of extended chin for Nightbird ends. And of course, Nightbird can go out in public in most parts of Australia because she is wearing a mask. Thank you. It took a long time, but we got there. And finally, the third of the Honda City figures has been announced by Takara. It is Crosscut. This is a figure that we thought we would see once they announced the Masterpiece Skids. We were surprised when they announced that Skids would be paired up with Reboost on the same time at release, because we figured it would probably be Crosscut. However, it's a really nice looking repaint. Post this announcement, there were actually some in-hand photos released of the figure, and goodness, it really does look nice. He is also noted as Senator Crosscut, which I think is actually a reference to his IDW title rather than a G1 cartoon. I don't think this guy had much of a presence or anything in G1. So
no, this guy basically fictionally didn't exist until the Chug era.
Yeah, the Chug Crosscut I thought was the first one, but yes, he did appear in the RDW comics. So it's nice to sort of see a little bit of comic acknowledgement going into the Masterpiece line, which is historically very cartoon obsessed. The Masterpiece Crosscut, it's probably actually almost a more realistic looking alt mode than Skids or Reboost, because it's a silver color you're more likely to see on the road than a blue or a red car. He does come with the little motorbike accessory, but he doesn't quite come with as many accessories as the others do. I think the motorbike has a rider on Skids and or Reboost, but yeah, and his weapons are slightly different. And of course, you can fold the bike up and stick it in the back of the car. It's a really nice Masterpiece mold. I'm really looking forward to getting Skids and Reboost later this year. So having gone through that, oh, look at that group shot.
Picky
Boys.
Yeah. So look, having gone through all of those, it's repaint central in Takara's release or Takara's announcements this week. What do you guys think? Are you interested in the premium finish figures? Brad, you are a proclaimed movie fan. Are you interested in the premium finish figures for your collection?
I'm a sort of one and done. If I've got the movie figures, I'm not famously keep those figures and not redo. I've said here previously on the show, I still prefer that Supreme Class Devastator to what coming out for the Devastator mode, at least anyway. But it's good that there's a nice broad range, like movie, Chug, Masterpiece. Like, there's a whole lot of different figures here for different collectors and what they want. So, and some people may have missed the earlier stuff. Like, I love that Nightbird. I have the original Nightbird in there. This probably wouldn't be enough to make me purchase her a second time, but it does look good.
Yeah, I really think she looks great. Yeah. So I'm going to take that as a solid maybe on the premium finish figures. Maybe Ratchet is not really the one to have up on screen for that discussion, but there's the Bumblebee Optimus Prime will be coming out in this line, and that should be the best looking version of that figure. Not only that, but that's a figure that's been quite hard to come by. So getting that, seeing that come out for another run at. It's not really going to be a retail release, but seeing it come out as another release that can be considered attainable, at least from people. I have the. I mean, you can totally see him up there somewhere. I've got the original Studio Series Bumblebee Prime up on my shelf, and I am considering getting the premium finish version and moving on the original because it is a better representation of the character. I'm less interested in the rest of the premium finish line. Obviously, Studio Series, low interest for me, but also the War for Cybertron figures, I feel they're almost just it's one repaint too far, especially when it comes to the previous month's reveal of Ultra Magnus. Like, I really don't care about Ultra Magnus coming out again in a different paint job. Starscream looks good. Like, I could definitely be persuaded by it if it was there for the right price, but I also don't really care about the battle damage. It's more the colors that are doing it for me, because these colors really do pop.
Plus, you got to know too, when you're buying Seekers, you know there's going to be more and more repaints, more releases down the line. Do you stick with the original Starscream repaint, or just wait and see what comes out a year later? Because we've seen in the past they do love to put different paint on Seekers.
There is so you say this, but remember that in the first wave of Earthrise, we've already dumped on Grapple from Earthrise Wave 1 in this podcast, but remember that the wave mate for Grapple in Wave 1 was Starscream in his Earth mode, and he was packed 2-1 Grapple to Starscream. So Starscream's Earth mode became a little bit more difficult to acquire. He's coming back in Kingdom. He will be packed either in Wave 4 or Wave 5 of Kingdom. So if you are looking for that Earth mode Starscream, you're about to get another chance. You're about to get another shot at it as well. What about Crosscut? Daria, I think there was quite some positive comments from yourself there on Crosscut.
Yeah, maybe. It'd probably be one of those way up here's likely impressive masterpiece price tag.
Oh, well, Skids and Reboost are $100 to $150. These guys are not expensive at all.
A definite maybe then, as you said before.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe when there's been a few more up close and personal pictures or reviews that might just nudge me over the edge.
Yeah. Well, so I think Skids is due late. I want to say September, October, but I could be wrong. It might be more November, December. Remembering that Skids and Reboost are timed for the anniversary of the vehicle, in the vehicle's anniversary in Japan, so it makes them a little bit a little bit more urgent for them to release them this year. Crosscut, I think, is just Takara going, yeah, we can repaint this. So Crosscut, I think, is due for release in February or March. I'm noticing a bit of a pattern this year because we also have Starscream, Thundercracker, and Skywarp coming up. It seems like Takara is sort of leaving about 3 months between the initial release of something and a repaint release. So Starscream came out last month. Thundercracker is coming out next month. Skywarp should be December, January, and so we're seeing Crosscut due for February as well. So leaving a bit of a gap between the original release and the repaint is, I think, probably a good idea.
Mm. And plus, this is sort of almost a return to the original masterpiece, where it's an actual vehicle. Yes, the alt mode, the robot mode's completely cartoon sort of aesthetic with all the curves and that. My last masterpiece figure I purchased was Tigertron, but I haven't sort of been looking. I've more so been that snake in the weeds, circling for those throwing out their old Seekers, wanting new ones, hoping to get the original Seekers back at a good price because I like to sell a couple over the years. Yeah. Jason, too, going out to conventions with some of the older masterpiece stuff that, yes, may not be cartoon accurate, but people see it and know exactly who the figures are. I've discussed this before, not about every 10 years, let's make them more cartoon accurate than what they already were. I'm happy with what the original Seekers were, and I'd love to get them. This is a new mold. It's like Loud Pedal or Trax, getting a Corvette. This going to get the Civic City or whatever it's called, the Honda City. It's a great looking little car mode, and I wouldn't mind getting one or two of these molds. This in the blue one, maybe.
Well, I'm definitely I'm in for Skids and Reboost, mainly because I'm in for Skids anyway, but Reboost coming at such a cheap price because it is, like I said, 100 to 150 once it's imported, probably sort of closer to the midpoint of that range, but we'll see how we go. At that point, I'd be crazy not to actually just get both of them as well, and so I expect that Crosscut's going to come in at the same price point, so be crazy not to get it as well. The three of them, as we saw the group photo there, the three of them look great together. I'm really looking forward to having them on my shelves like that.
Yeah, and like looking at the design robot mode, they sort of resemble the Datsun trio. So why wouldn't you get this trio as well? Have on your shelf as well. If you got the money to spend, that is.
Well, I mean, like, you know, most of the comments that we make on the podcast about whether or not something is going to be purchased is sort of predicated on having the money to spend on it anyway. So you know, it's okay.
We all have wish lists.
We do,
Yeah.
we do. Some of us are more wishy than others.
Wishy-washy.
Anyway, yeah, we're a little bit wishy-washy sometimes. Let's move on. There's a couple more news stories to talk about before we get stuck into Kingdom. Very quickly, Super 7 has announced Wave 2 of their Ultimates figures. Now, I mainly left this in because I wanted to get an opinion from you guys on what you think of them. These are about 7-inch PVC figures. They don't transform. I'm not even sure how posable they are. I think they can sort of be moved around a little bit, but not too much. They're generally kind of statues. I think maybe you could turn Grimlock's head or maybe open his mouth or so. But like Megatron's arm doesn't look like it moves very much there, and neither does.
It just does. It does that.
Hey, I'm happy to be proved wrong on this, but like I don't think these guys move around very much.
Well, that stance Trax is in. He's either very posable or not at all.
Yeah, he's locked into one pose.
I think he's locked in that pose because if you look at the stance, his feet are flat on the ground.
Yeah,
But if you look at Skeletor,
Bludgeon, yeah, you're right. Bludgeon does have some hinge.
The
work
top of the
visible on
knees
his
there,
feet and on the legs. So maybe there's a little bit of posability in there. I find myself coming back to my original run at the Transformers Red line, which is they didn't offer anything over the figures, right? Like if you're gonna get Kingdom tracks, why would you get Super 7 Ultimate tracks? Kingdom Trax is more posable. He actually transforms, and you know he also looks pretty much like the same representation of the character. I think Nathan Ashby had a post in the group about the red figures this week, and I think we generally agreed that the only time I would really go near the red line is for something that doesn't already exist. So out of these 4 figures, the one thing that doesn't already exist is probably Grimlock with the tray and with the tray and the apron, right? Like there's no toy like that at the moment. There's a few representations of that, like, you know, you can get the apron for the Masterpiece figure, but this really does nail that look. And when we were talking about the red line, we were talking about the reformatting Megatron that's coming out. Like there's no toy of a reformatting Megatron, so maybe that is a purchase in the red line. But these are $55. The original Ultimate Wave 1 Optimus Prime is $110 on some toy retailers around the country. That's a lot for a non-transforming PVC statue. It comes with some accessories, and like, to be perfectly honest, I've gone far enough through my life without having a Grimlock with an apron and a tray and some things on it. I don't think I really need one for $110. I mean,
was that MP7?
What do you think?
Was it MP7 the original Grimlock?
Yeah, like I said,
it's pretty early on. Yeah,
you can get the apron for the Masterpiece Grimlock, but you know it doesn't really look quite cartoon accurate. It's fine, but you know, I just don't think I need this.
But again, that's only the Zakara one. The Hasbro one, when they redone in their B3 or 4, didn't come with any of that sort of stuff. So it's only been that original Takara Grimlock that's had those accessories, and nothing since has come out with that, even as niche as drink serving Grimlock is.
Yeah. They've
never really had another go at it, where you may have MP8, thanks Jonathan. So here we're doing a redo of it. So out of all these 4, maybe Grimlock in that would be the same, but then he's got to fit in with other things as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's enough of a novelty to really make me bite on it.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone can see properly the shelf behind me. I collect Grimlocks, and my Masterpiece didn't come with any aprons or trays or things because it was the Hasbro one.
Yeah.
Are you sad about it?
Not really.
Does it keep you up at night?
No, No, but I'm saying I might consider getting that 7 partly for just the fact he is Grimlock and I collect Grimlocks. But
I think that's perfect. That's perfectly allowable.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing
I'm
wrong with
also
that
saying
at all.
at $110, actually maybe not.
Yeah, and that's I've always championed. I'd love to see a line that isn't transformable figures. Take that engineering out, and these should be half the price of a masterpiece figure. Just 110. It's hard.
It is a really tough sell. I mean, so this is not the only Super 7 Transformers line. There's also the reaction lines as well. They're quite small figures. They are the price of a deluxe Transformer, and they're blocky like a G1, and they don't really do very much. I can't justify the price.
I got one of
if
them
these guys were like
because he was
20 to
Grimlock,
30% cheaper, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want 100% G1 accurate figures, you have to go non-transformable. Like Trax, he's got the stupid little wheels on his shoulders and that. Like that's G1 to a T cartoon. None of the robots look like they could transform into the cars because the proportions completely suit the robots in cartoon animation style. The Grimlock looks fantastic there. Out of the 4, he'd be the one I'd buy. But again, for $110 when 7 inches, sort of you're halfway between deluxe and Voyager size, and you can get a Voyager for $50. That's twice as much as a Voyager, and that's not. I don't know how you could do it or justify it.
So let's also remember that these are not the only game in town when it comes to non-transforming PVC statues as well. Like I had the Zoteki figures I showed off on the podcast recently as well. They're $20 each, and they kind of look the same, right? They're not very articulate or posable or anything like that. Maybe Super 7s are a little bit more posable, but I don't care. I've got the $20 Zoteki ones. Why do I need to pay $100 for them? And even in the Zoteki one, Grimlock is in dinosaur mode as well. So yeah, but yeah, it's just but we've got Zoteki, we've got Super 7, we've got Red. There's been other things, like even Hasbro's released their little. I mean, there's Pop Vinyls as well. Hasbro's released their little tiny ones that they released around in the Thrilling 30 line. I think it was for an anniversary as well. Like, how many times do we need to collect non-transforming versions of these characters? Every time it's just like, well, we've made the mold 20% better than the previous attempt at cartoon accuracy. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yep, and of course, well, you're going to get the Dinobots as Dinobots, but why is Megatron robot mode not gun mode? Well, we know why he's not in gun mode.
we know why that is, but yes, go on.
Okay, maybe not for your vehicles. Grimlock, so obviously the Insecticons, if you're going to Insecticons, the Insecticons will have to be in insect mode and not robot mode. Then do you need a second lot of Dinobots in Dino mode, looking in robot mode, looking G1 accurate as well? It's a license to print money as long as it's done right.
As long as the community actually embraces them and buys them.
Yeah.
There are definitely people who are like, yeah, more Super 7 stuff, I'm going to buy it. But I think in terms of actual Transformers appeal, like I think it's pretty niche. I don't know, which does go to Jonathan's comment. They really are a niche thing, and Jonathan says he'd only go for it if it's a favorite character. So as you said, Daria, you're a Grimlock collector, so why not go for this? Because your Grimlock collection is incomplete without a Grimlock figure from this line. So sorry, but like I will send you the link to pre-order it later.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I think we've dumped on Super 7 enough now. We are going to jump over to one more story, which is something that came up this week that definitely got my attention from third-party ex-Transbots. These guys revealed their take on Masterpiece battle charges. It's been a long time coming for these guys to actually get Masterpiece treatment. Runamuck and Runabout, I think, have been somewhat favourite characters for a long time. They're a unique set of characters in G1 with their battle charges gimmick. There was the subscription service or BotCon release of them. I think it's going on 10 plus years ago now. And of course, they've recently been revisited in the Earthrise line, but they're yet to get a masterpiece treatment from either from Takara or from third parties. So I think the fact that these came out in Earthrise and they were pretty popular is possibly fueled X-Transbots going in on them. Very clever. They've named them Fast and Fury. A nice little reference to the Fast and the Furious franchise there as well. I'm in for them. Like I reckon they look pretty great. The one thing I would really like to see, though, and bear in mind we are looking at renders here, we're not looking at real figures. The one thing I would really like to see on them is some more G1 toy accurate colors. Like I would like to see some gold and some orange on Run Amok, and I would like to see. So Runabout has some red on him because he's got the red car windows, but and you actually sort of see there's some red behind the head there because of the design of the figure. But I would also really like to see some red internals on Runabout as well. But I'll say these guys when they do release, and I think they're not releasing until I think March next year or so. They'll probably be easier to get than Earthrise Runabout was.
Plus, if they're the only ones doing these figures, they're probably going to be a little bit more expensive as well.
Look, the surest way to guarantee that Takara will announce masterpiece versions of these characters, and look, let's be honest, it's totally a thing that Takara could well do now, because they announced Skids and Reboost, a pair of characters to be released at the same time using the same mold. They could totally do Run Amok and Runabout at the same time. Like, it could be a thing that they do next year, especially in response to the fact that this is coming out and causing some ripples through the fandom. It's made me sit up and take notice. It's been a long time since I've been very interested in anything X-Transbots has done. But yeah, I'm definitely looking to order these guys. I like me some battle charges. What can I say?
Yeah, and what you brush on is that whenever they have redone the characters in the official one, it's always been one comparatively easy to get, one that's like an exclusive to the moon or something.
Yes, that's true. It's especially true of Runabout. I still have a very long list of people who want Earthrise Runabout. I was only able to get, I think, about 10 or 12 of them ever. And I live in hope that at some point it's going to be reissued. I really like these guys. The dimensions of them, just the look of them. I feel like they've got fairly clean transformations. I'm pretty sure was it X-Transbots that did a set of Stunticons recently?
They did have one coming. I don't know if it's been released yet or not.
I don't know, but it seems like the designs on just like car Transformers they're pretty easy and fairly standard these days. You're gonna make a car transform. Okay, well, are the feet the bonnet? Okay, cool. What happens to the chest? It looks like these guys actually have real chest window designs as well. So they're not using fake windows or anything. And yeah, they actually look like a fairly straightforward design. And given that their price, I think their pre-order price seems to be about $120 to $130, $150. I think that probably puts them around the same scale and price as some of the Stunticon figures that we've seen coming out in the last few months. I'm pretty happy with them. I like their looks, I like their proportions, and I like battle charges, like I said. So, yeah, I'll be I'm just going to be looking to pre-order these after the podcast. Actually,
we'll return to talk about more of these when we get some coloured images.
Yeah, well, I don't think we're going to get more colour than these images. These are colour images. I would just like to see a little bit more colour in the designs. X-Transbots has been known to release sort of toy and cartoon color versions of some of their figures, so I'm really hoping that we might get a toy color scheme for these guys.
We'll see.
See how we go. Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to say something else there.
Oh, no. End of conversation.
Fair enough. One last story before we finish the news and get on to talking about the Netflix show. I don't know how long we're going to talk about that for, but some small notes that it appears that Transformers: Rise of the Beasts may have slipped to late 2022 or the December 2022 for its release date. There is a note on a copyright entry filed by Paramount that was noticed, I think, earlier this week that projects the date of publication of the movie at December 2022. Now,
cancel it. Cancel it.
Cancel it? Why?
Just don't bring it out.
Oh no, they're going to bring it out. But look, we had heard that the movie was going to be out mid 2022, and we know that they've only sort of just announced a lot of the cast and some of the effects companies involved in it. And I think it was a bit optimistic to produce a Transformers movie in 12 months under COVID restrictions, and not to mention the amount of special effects that is always required in a Transformers movie, but especially here where we're talking about fairly realistic animal designs that we're expecting to see as well, because they are getting the studio that worked on the CGI for the Lion King live action movie to do the beast effects. So I'm not really too surprised that this has slipped, but there hasn't been an official announcement from Paramount yet. We'll see what happens.
Well, just to comprehend, one of the biggest complaints in the original trilogy, and in any of the live action movies, is just cars sitting there doing nothing just to have the character on screen. And you think now that we have to have that as a CG animal sitting on screen doing nothing, as well as a robot as well. Like the CG, not so much budget, but the CG word. Assets on screen. Assets on screen is just.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot more effects required for this because for a Transformer, they can put a Mirage as a Porsche in Rise of the Beast. They can just put a Porsche on set, but they can't put an ape on set as a practical effect. If you're expecting to have. Hey? Yeah. Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
Yeah, good dog.
It's not practical for beasts for that. So I think this is a challenge for doing anything beast related in live action.
Oh, the budget, the CG budget. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
I don't know. I think there's ways of doing this that are more cost effective than they have been in the past, right? Like, I mean, for one thing, they're not getting ILM to do the effects. They're getting other companies to do it. Other companies work cheaper than Industrial Light and Magic. Oops, what?
Well, you're going to go cheaper, but okay.
Oh.
Well, we'll see what the final product's like.
Well,
I can see there's going to be Primal,
point.
Megatron, maybe 2 other Decepticons, and then the rest of the cast is going to be humans, and that's it. There'll be less Transformers than Bumblebee.
Maybe. I think there's definitely going to be more Transformers in the cast than Bumblebee. We've seen Mirage. We've seen that Optimus Prime is around. I'm pretty sure Bumblebee is around. So like I think you've already aced the cast of Bumblebee there, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Plus, some of those assets are already, like the Bumblebee, your Prime assets are already done from Bumblebee. So as long as they're not tweaking them too much to sell more toys, they can reuse a lot of that stuff already.
They can. I think there's been a greater propensity for Hasbro to reuse the toys from movie to movie recently as well. So yeah, I mean, look, we know that there's definite links from the vehicle mode Prime from Bumblebee into the vehicle that they're using for Rise of the Beasts, but we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Now, without really wanting to upset the apple cart too far, let's go from Rise of the Beasts to another beast-related topic, which is the Transformers War for Cybertron Kingdom. All right. Well, that's pretty much done. Yeah.
Anyway,
Thank you.
new acquisitions.
Thank
I've
you for
got
coming
There's
to our
a pull
TED
quote
talk.
for the DVD.
Yes. The pull quote is literally asterisk raspberry noise asterisk.
Oh,
Well, so let's attempt to be a little bit more forthcoming in a discussion.
for discussion purposes, yes. Let's.
Yes. I'm not gonna go first on this one. I think I might throw the floor over to Daria, who is the person who hasn't sounded a raspberry for the show yet. So before I do throw the floor open, having said that I will, I don't know how much of a critical discussion I really have about this in me. But so I want to see where this discussion goes. But I think also there's an overriding wave of negative feedback to the series that I think I want to hear that, but I think we also probably need to try to find some positives in it. So I'd like to hear some positives as well. But Daria, let's go with yourself first. I think let's start at a top line thumb up or thumb down, and let's also be aware that you can enjoy something without necessarily thinking it's good.
I think my thumb is up only in that sort of 51% is a pass mark sense.
So are you? Wait a second. I'm gonna take the screen share out and put us up on screen. Are you saying that you're giving War for Cybertron Kingdom a faculty pass?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
My original instinct was to say, if you didn't like the last two, you won't like this. But the funny thing is, I have read from some people who have said the exact opposite, that they didn't like the last two and they did like this. There is more story in this one than its predecessors. Some say this is actually a problem that in some parts it tries to fit in too much story, in that it tries to pull in things from across the entirety of Beast Wars in 6 20-something minute episodes.
So just for the purposes of this discussion, I do want to put spoilers on the table. We can definitely bring out spoilers and talk about plot points. And for people who are listening or watching, if you haven't watched it yet, maybe skip the rest of the episode. But yeah, it's we are definitely going to be talking about plot points and things that happened in War for Cybertron Kingdom. So with that in mind, don't feel the need to mince words on anything specific. If you want to talk about something that happened in the show, definitely talk about it.
Well, in that case, I'll do it. Dinobot's arc. He basically had his across all the seasons Beast Wars arc done in about 3 episodes. He weirdly dies in a moment of self-sacrifice ? And all the Maximals, some of whom we've not even seen talk to him, are moved and saying that they would remember him as one of their own. And it's like, he was only kind of thinking about leaving yesterday. Okay.
This I think goes to the. I've been saying for a while that the War for Cybertron trilogy media, as in the Netflix series, is a mashup of things that have come before. Like, we've got Unicron and Galvatron and Nemesis Prime and Optimus Primal and Beast Mechatron sharing the screen with the characters that we know and love. It's definitely not a retread of the plot of Beast Wars. It's definitely not a retread of the plot of G1. It's just like it's like a greatest hits album where someone has gone into TF Wiki and found the most popular pages on the site and just gone, right, we're going to work that plot point into this. So Dinobot's going to defect. Oh, Dinobot's not showing any inclination to defecting from the Predacons to the Maximals before. Well, we better stick one line of dialogue into episode 1 that indicates that he's thinking about it, right? It's writing by numbers, and I feel like it's the same problem with this part of the franchise as has come in the last two parts, it's the writing. The writing is just decidedly average, and the mashup aspect of it, I just don't think is really. I don't think the mashup aspect of the show really lands for me with a lot of. It doesn't land with a lot of gravitas. It's just sort of like, oh right, well, Galvatron's back. Okay, cool. That's what's happening now.
Yeah, I will say one thing I'll definitely say was a good idea. I'm not sure if it's been so outwardly done elsewhere, is to have Nemesis Prime being to Optimus as Galvatron is to Megatron. So he is the Herald of Unicron, formed from a dying Optimus, as Galvatron was from Megatron. That is a new idea. That's interesting, but that plot kind of gets sort of bundled up with everything else. And it's like, oh, the beasts are from the same future. Oh, are they? Oh, and we came back because this. Oh, right. Thanks for mentioning that in episode like 5 or 6, and just kind of in an offhand manner.
Yeah. So in being a mashup of concepts and ideas that have come before, and just sort of putting things into a blender and remixing them, there's going to be some hits and there's going to be some misses. And like you, I appreciate them sort of having a story for Nemesis Prime that's not just fucking brain dead stupid. Like the idea of like the idea of an evil version of Optimus being constructed and sent out into the world and confusing people for the real Optimus. Like that's kind of silly. I like the fact that the future versions of Prime and Megatron are kind of haunting them in both these cases, because Galvatron's definitely manipulating Megatron while also being conscious of the fact that he can't really harm him, and Nemesis Prime is a lot more reserved in his interactions with Optimus. The one thing I will say is that the giving more than 2 seconds of screen time to Nemesis Prime in Kingdom has definitely driven interest in the Nemesis Prime spoiler pack set that came out in Wave 2 of the toy line. There's definitely now people who are out there going like, yeah, I want this Nemesis representation, because you can actually square him off against the Siege Prime now. There's a good reason for them both to exist, rather than just being fancy repaints that acknowledge weird plot points that occurred at some point in the last 20 years. I think Nemesis and Galvatron sort of being sort of the big bads in the show. Sort of, it's a different take on things, which is fresh, but ultimately is squandered by the writing. It doesn't really go anywhere.
And the mixed voice acting / direction continues. I'll jump in here with this. With the Beast characters, what we've got is that almost every portrayal we've seen of the Beast characters since 1996 has come back to the original mainframe series. So what we're dealing with here is not just the various issues that the G1 characters have, but we're also kind of conditioned to even more than the G1 characters. Even it's not a matter of whether we like these characters as much, but we've really only experienced the Beast Wars characters as we know them from mainframe. So the differences feel more sharp in their characterizations, voices, etc. Some of the voice acting is just fine. I thought Dinobot's voice, much as it sounds nothing like mainframe Dinobot, was okay. Same with Black Arachnia. But every time one of them, especially Beast Megatron, who sounds, he's not even trying, and I think literally he's not even trying, so let's not quite lay that on him, but he's not even supposed to sound like the crafty, cool and collected Predacon we remember from the 1990s. He's kind of fanboying the G1 Megatron.
There's no intelligence to that voice acting at all. Can you hear that lawnmower going?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, my time to speak.
Yes.
On your point with the voice cast, it sounds everyone has to talk like this, not realizing that modulation and computer effects can make you sound like a robot. It's just talk, pick a voice and talk. Not everyone has to talk like this. All the Beast figures characters sound very similar. There's little bits difference in there, but for the most part, I watched episode 1 and thought that done, and then come back to think about it. It's not Beast Wars. Siege isn't G1. Transformers Prime isn't G1. Animated isn't G1. You're not going to redo what's happened in the past. This is something else. They're going to reuse the character names. It's odd that they went for Beast Wars accurate designs for most of the toys, when there's definitely some animation differences in this new series as what come before. Rhinox looks like has the Iron Giant head. Beast Wars Mechatron is just a shame. It's a shame what they've done with that character. The Golden Disc being Megatron's memoirs from the future. I can see the comments. If you like what come before with Siege and Earthrise, you'll like this, or vice versa. It's just the way this new trilogy has been written. Once I got over, this isn't Beast Wars. My G1's not being touched here. But I was ending the episodes and going, I want to see what happens next episode. So
yeah, look,
that's positive.
I think it's fair to point out that like I didn't hate watching the show, but it just doesn't strike me as a quality production.
The story's all in there. It's execution.
The story's pretty average anyway. For me, coming the same week as Masters of the Universe Revelation. I think it's like night and day, the reverence with which both series treat the franchise that they're a part of. Masters of the Universe, it's lovingly plotted. It's carefully cast as well. Like there's stellar voice cast in that show. And it's almost embarrassing to go, right, well, the 80s are back on Netflix this week because Masters of the Universe is out and it's being relatively well received by people, unless you're looking at Kevin Smith's Twitter account. And
Midnight's Edge, they do not like.
Yeah. And Transformers Kingdom is coming out later this week, and it's just like, well, maybe if you liked Revelation, maybe just don't look at Transformers. I've heard from at least one person who, because they know me, they decided to give Kingdom a go on Netflix. And they're like, Jason's into Transformers. Let's watch this. And they said after the first episode of it, they were just like, what the shit is this?
I think
it's a great shame.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Kingdom or Siege or Kingdom, Earthrise, then it's going to be very jarring.
But there's absolutely no indication as you watch Kingdom that it's the third part of something. Like it doesn't say it's the War for Cybertron trilogy part 3. It just says
you
it's
get a
Kingdom.
10-second prelude at the start of episode 1 that we went through the dead zone and come out here? No, okay.
Do you? I don't remember. But like even so, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the stuff that happened before this episode.
But there was something like that, because I think what the fuck's the dead zone, dead universe? Where was this? And there must have been something happening in Earthrise that.
There were definitely flashbacks, and I think there was a bit of a flashback at the start of the first episode, but they gave it like 10 seconds. Like at no point did during the production did someone just go, hey, actually, it's been 6 months, maybe we should give people a bit of a recap on what happened. And I think part of it is possibly the assumption that if people want a recap on what happened, they'll watch Earthrise the week or the day before Kingdom comes out. So you could go either way as to whether or not it's really worth their effort to actually go into the effort of creating that that flashback or that recap. But for holy shit, just don't make something that relies on things that have come before without actually explaining it. So Jonathan says it does say it's Trilogy Kingdom, and that was my point in saying it does say it's part of a trilogy. It doesn't say what part of the trilogy it is. Is it the third part? Is it the first part? Who knows? Part of that also goes to Netflix's presentation of the series as well, because they've given every installation of the trilogy its own program section, and there's no indication. There's no indication on them as to what else you should watch. Do you know what Netflix suggested I watch when I finished the last episode of Kingdom?
Sailor Moon.
It suggested I watch Siege.
It's circular. Everyone's circular.
Yeah. Watch Siege, then see if it suggests Earthrise or Kingdom. Who knows?
Oh, it didn't even offer me a Transformers series. It offered me I think it was a Korean action show.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, I didn't wait until the credits finished.
Yeah, it's fair enough too. We touched very briefly on the villains being sort of Galvatron and Nemesis Prime. What about the big guy who's sort of known to be pulling the strings behind all of this in some vague way that's not entirely clear? Kingdom does feature Unicron, and I mean a lot more than the single shot that we got of him in Earthrise, and it's implied that the whole thing has been orchestrated by Unicron for some purpose. I wasn't entirely clear on what that purpose is, but it's also implied that Unicron is not done with them yet by the end of the last episode, which has left people wondering whether this is going to be a trilogy in 4 parts. Is there more coming to this, or is it sort of the production crew hedging their bet that they'll be commissioned to produce an anime series for Transformers Legacy as it's coming out next year as well? What do you guys think of Unicron's positioning within the show?
I like the idea of him being a master of things from behind the scenes. I think that is a better use for him than, oh no, he's coming to eat the planet and everyone rally round and all the D-list characters get killed yet again.
True.
So portraying
which they did anyway. Everyone on Cybertron's dead.
So taking the side that he's supposed to be an evil god, and another thing evil gods do in fiction is send out the mortals to do things for them and operate as that kind of master planner. In principle, I like that. But again, you've got he just kind of pops up at the end and said, this is my plan all along. It's like, was it? How does any of this possibly benefit you?
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy, question mark.
I'm the mastermind behind it all. Yeah.
And I think anything lingering, while I guess if they do something in the same continuity, they could pick up on it. To me, it was just doing the old, it's the end, but is it, as they've been doing since like the 30s, even when they knew there was nothing to come.
I don't care if they revisit it with Unicron as another big bad or something. I mean, look, I am amused that they even managed to get the crowd-funded toy into the show. Like, that was good on them. But I mean, they managed that in Earthrise as well. Like it was clearly the War for Cybertron Unicron CAD design being used for him in all of these shots. The original one back in Earthrise, and all of the close-ups here. You could sort of see the detail on the horns and things like that. I thought it was funny that they've used the CAD design for him. They've gotten so close to it in some aspects that the scale of it becomes a bit of an issue, because the horns are not very sharp in the close-up, because obviously Hasbro is not shipping sharp horns on Unicron. Like they're kind of blunted and round at the end. So how's he gonna hold on to any planets with those things? I mean, they're just gonna slip from his grasp.
Yeah, I'll tie this into where do we think the next series is going to go. We've done G1's done. Now we've done Hit Beast Wars. RID's been touched before as well. I think we're going to go into a Unicron trilogy next, where we're going to have some of the same characters we've seen now. Obviously, Prime's going to be back because we have to have G1 Prime and some of the others. Elita One's Husk on Cybertron was very horrific. in that Ash Storm or whatever we got in it as well. But we might be able to bring in some characters from the Unicron trilogy. I'm not going to mention any now because I'm not really sure. I don't think we'll get a hotspot or anything like that because we still have Bumblebee. But maybe finally now, 20 years after the Unicron trilogy, we're going to get a little bit of a nod to that because those fans are now old enough to have disposable incomes as well, like the rest of us. And
I think that's definitely what's happening. So as far as what the next trilogy for the toy line is, we're definitely hearing that the legacy line is going to be bringing in characters from all over the place, sort of like the universe, the original concept behind Universe was. Hasbro, I believe, has sort of said, right, we're done with redoing the G1 cast for now until they decide that there's more money in it. Engineering wise, I don't see them improving much on the toys if they were to redo these characters again, right? Like we've had 4 Optimus Prime figures of note in the last 6 years. We had the Combiner Wars. We had in fact, well, there was one in Titan's Return, but it wasn't really of note. There was the Leader Class Evolution one in Power of the Primes, and there's Siege and Earthrise Optimus Primes in the War for Cybertron trilogy. They're all pretty much taking on the same idea of the G1 character, and so I feel like they don't really need to do that again. And maybe it's time for them to sort of let other characters have that spotlight. Maybe it's time for them to do something with the I think it was the Armada Optimus Prime that's been seen for the Armada Optimus Prime that's been seen as a prototype. Takara themselves have said they're not really sure what they're going to do with it, whether it's going to make it into a masterpiece line or a chug line.
We all got the Earthrise Prime. Have you got it, Daria?
No, my current Prime of choice is one of the Titans Returns ones.
Okay.
The triple changer one that I glossed over.
Yeah, well, I've got that and the quote-unquote Power Master one, but...
I completely forgot that one too. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So as you're saying, Jason, there's a lot of primes out there, and a lot of people have a certain prime as their peak G1 prime with the new engineering. How do you do that again? The only problem with going to Unicron trilogy, you have characters like Metroplex, figures like that are standard robot-sized characters with everyone else, yet we already have Titan's Return. Okay, we could forget that happened, but how do you have a Voyager Metroplex in a Unicron trilogy?
I think we actually know how this works already because we got Titan Scorponok and we've got Predacon Scorponok in Kingdom. So I think Hasbro is a little bit... Hasbro is a little bit conscious of the fact that they are reusing names and they're prefixing them with things that distinguish them.
Well, there's 2 Megatrons right up front and center.
On
your shelf right now.
Yeah, true.
But the Megatron is clearly denoted as Megatron Beast. On the box for Kingdom.
Our G1 Megatron told him not to go by that name anymore. So
yeah, that was so again, like I said, I would like to at least point out the positives in the show as well. And yes, there are plenty of little clever bits of dialogue that were placed in there, like and like Megatron being annoyed that there's another Megatron around is great, especially when at the point when someone comes into the room and it's like you just know what's going to happen. Someone comes in and goes, "Lord Megatron," and they both say yes. It's like, of course that's going to happen. The other thing I would also like to point out in terms of like things that I liked, I quite liked Air Razor. Just throughout the whole thing, I thought Air Razor's portrayal was good. I thought her voice acting was good as well. Seems to be a thing with this trilogy where the female voices seem to be much more professional, much more restrained, and doing a much better job of their characterization than a lot of the male voices. Optimus Prime
I agree.
Didn't do it for me at all. Megatron sort of worked in some cases, but just the problem we've said before is just voice direction or the lack of it.
Yeah, because
No, and
again,
as-
I've heard these people doing other things, even playing these characters and other things, and they are fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. And as I was saying earlier, with figures taking place in collections, that Air Razor, I've seen the Air Razor figure at my local Target. Yes, it still exists, Jason. Don't tell me otherwise. It's a sensational looking figure, and I don't have an Air Razor from the original Beast Wars line. It would look really good with the Generations and some of the figures now that I've collected from the Kingdom line.
I'm not even collecting the beasts from Kingdom, but I enjoyed Air Razor enough in the show that I will probably buy her if I see her on the shelf somewhere.
Yeah. But even the Masterpiece Beast line, like you have Gorilla Optimus, Megatron, T-Rex, a little Hawk, but she still fits perfectly, or fits pretty well in the Masterpiece line as well as a stand-in until if they eventually get to a Masterpiece Air Razor as well. And that's Black Arachnia.
We did hear this a while ago that the Masterpiece Beasts were sort of done with the idea that they would scale all right with the Chug Beasts, and if you were to put them all up on a shelf together, they wouldn't look out of place.
Yeah. Black Arachnia, the voice acting there was pretty good. I was surprised they were as modest, even though the appendages weren't as articulated as what the original Black Arachnias were. I'm surprised they went that so accurate on something like that. Tigertron, Primal, he probably used his swords more in this than what he did in the original entire Beast Wars run. Even Dinobot. Yeah.
Well, they turned Tigertron into the let's go blow shit up guy, which is
a
weird choice.
Yeah, again, just you need again, Beast Wars is my G1, so Beast Wars is my hallowed cow that's on the shelf back there. If you sort of forget that, it's
did you just call Beast Wars a cow?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you can get past it again. There's no fun in being negative about this stuff. You want this sort of stuff to be enjoyable and that. So I didn't mind it. It happened. I don't know if I'd see it again. As again, most of the figures that have come out are Beast Wars accurate and not so much accurate. There are design changes in faces and that, as I said before. Iron Giant, Rhinox. I've got the Generations one from the Thrilling 30. That's still my Rhinox. I just wish we had a Waspinator in this, although we get a Waspinator / Surfer Dude Megatron instead in the voice cast. But anyway,
look, ultimately, where I end up landing on it, I think I did say this earlier, is that it's not Beast Wars, it's not G1, it is the story that they set out to tell, and they've finished the story that they set out to tell. And the way I tend to look at these kind of things, and the same thing happens to me when I went to see Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker. So I was sitting there in the cinema and it finished, and I went, yeah, right, well, that's how they wanted to finish their story. Okay. And out of anything else, this is how they decided to finish the story as well. They had their characters, they had their chessboard, and this is what they decided to do with it. And it's their choice. We're not the ones who are in we're not the ones who are in charge of the production. So we've all watched it. So
they've done their job in that regard.
Yeah, they've done their job. They've gotten us all to do exactly what they were meant to do. We all watched a series on Netflix. Whether or not that benefits people so much, like there's certainly no advertising benefit in there for it. But it's what they were there for.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like as I was saying, like this isn't Beast Wars. Star Wars fans that only like 3 movies out of the 12, then that's another thing as well. Are you really a Star Wars fan if you only like 3 movies out of 12? Different people are going to come on board. They're going to tell their own stories. They're going to use established characters because it sells. Look at you, Solo. You're just going to It's going to happen. Transformers, Beast Wars. That's why this new Rise of the Beasts. They're gonna use character names. They're gonna have a story to tell. They're gonna tell that story. You shouldn't feel the need to say, well, it has to be Beast Wars accurate, otherwise I don't like it. Just let people tell their story.
Well, that's kind of the thing that's been happening with the Bay movies as well for
Yeah.
the last decade and a half as well. People have been saying, right, it's not the same. It's not retelling the same story. It's someone else's take on things. And this comes up quite a lot, is for a franchise that reinvents itself every few years. People are really down on Transformers when it veers off its original template, which is really quite ironic considering the number of different interpretations and universes that are out there for it.
35 years of franchise, every 3 to 4 years reinventing itself. Same character names, but different designs, different figures. If you were lucky enough to get a media for it, be it a cartoon or comic, just makes it even better. Even stuff live action. Why should the live action movies be a G1 cartoon? We've had that. It's come before. There's issues there where you can't have that happen again because of obvious things. Just calm down, settle down. If you don't like it, fine. Just let the current generation enjoy it. It's fueling the franchise. It's giving us these masterpiece figures and everything else. So, yeah.
Ultimately, my thoughts on Kingdom is sort of a careless ambivalence towards it. I don't think it was very well made, but I did watch it and I enjoyed it, and so yeah, it's kind of a resounding meh from me.
Yeah. We mentioned many months ago when this was coming out. We've got the Bot series coming out, and we got the other series coming out to Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. There's another one coming in.
We're expecting some fresh takes on the Transformers franchise in the next year. I think it's really interesting to see.
I'm ready to go back to the comedic sense. I mentioned back then these fan comic serious stories. I don't think they've worked. They haven't been a personal favourite of mine. You go back to animated, sort of these figures, these series where there's a bit more comedic, bit more down to lower age group. I'm ready for that again. Just animated bot bots.
We see that already. Cyberverse has this tremendous sense of fun about it as well, but it's also largely shunned by the fandom as well, which I do think is a mistake. I think Cyberverse definitely needs to be watched. I'm not very up on season 1 of it, but holy shit, I love season 2 and 3, and I'm really glad that it's coming back to movies for season 4.
Yeah, same. Very much the same. I mean, when it was first announced, I saw people going, "Oh, the characters have big eyes. It's so SJW." And I can understand that it does kind of run on the spot a bit with the Bumblebee home movie first season, but yeah, second and third season, I agree, are great, and it's no more particularly aimed down than the G1 cartoon was in 1980 whatever. It's just that when you're a kid in 1980 whatever, the G1 cartoon talked to you on your level, and you've kind of some people have kind of assumed that it is still talking to them on their level 30, 40 years later. They think that because they liked it so much as like 7-year-olds, they think it is aimed at them as 40-year-olds. It's just no. The main difference is with Cyberverse is now you're watching a cartoon for 7-year-olds. As a 40-year-old, it's not going to have the same appeal for most people.
Do you think perhaps that's also why people struggle to accept some of the plot and the character changes? I say changes, like I've said several times now. This is not, it's not the originals being retold. It's different. It's someone else's take on it. But when people still say, oh, but this character's changed from their Beast Wars representation, and people continue to come back to it. I mean, it's our need to really compare one thing to another that really sets us off in this fashion. But it's the reluctance of letting go. Things that spoke to us as kids that leads to ultimately a bit of negativity. And I'm conscious of the fact that I've been pretty negative about Kingdom in here as well. But it's this reluctance to let go of the things that spoke to us as kids. But it's still, at the same time, you can't really deny that there's definitely issues with the production side of it.
Oh yeah, and I was just thinking about the Unicron trilogy cartoons as an example of this. They reinvented all kinds of great ideas in there, but especially for the English dubbed version, and especially for the middle chapter, in fact mostly for the middle chapter and the first half of the first chapter, oh my goodness, did it just let down on the actual production and execution side.
Yeah.
Well, we do have 45-second transformation sequences to look forward to. But even most...
That means we have transformation sequences, unlike this one.
Yeah, well, yeah. And it's sort of animation, different animation styles being used as well. We had the G1 hand-drawn. We had the Disney hand-drawn animated. We had Prime CG, 3D CG. Here we've got essentially the figures with weird joint articulation and abdomen flexing and bending. Going into Flash for Cyberverse as well. That could be held up.
Cyberverse is definitely not like a Flash animated show, but yeah.
Well,
it has its DNA.
There's definitely elements of that sort of presentation of things in there, but it's definitely not. There's definitely professional animators working on it, and they're not using Flash.
No, but still, there's differences. So, anyway,
I think we're about done. I think we've dismantled Kingdom and reassembled it into a form in which we're comfortable with just sort of watching it and then putting it aside to one corner. And I think that's pretty much all we might have to say about it. Which is it's not really too much of a surprise. It's pretty much as we expected it to be. But I think it is what it is.
Yep, agreed.
All right. Without any further ado, then, does anyone have any new acquisitions that they would like to talk about? Given that we are well into the back half of the second hour of the show, so we should probably look to wind up. But I know Brad went to get some figures before we started. Did you want to talk about anything there, Brad? And Daria,
I could do this quick.
To talk about.
Oh, light baby.
Go towards the light, Brad.
Got this a while ago. I don't think I've talked about it. The Soundwave from Dark of the Moon
Studio series.
Yes, I presume so. Unfortunately, we don't have light piping anymore, which is a shame because he's got the nice red eyes there. He's a bit squat for a deluxe. Laserbeak is currently missing in action. He's inside somewhere. But a good little representation of that Dark of the Moon Soundwave. He's fallen us over it. Thanks to BBTS, I was able to get Shattered. Here we have the car mode of Shatter. Not the best. I think this was probably one of the least received figures from Bumblebee. It'll go into car mode next to Dropkick, which is in car mode in my display as well. I don't keep any of the backing, packaging, or anything else. Here we have the plain mode of Shattered. Displayed like this in its little packaging thing.
That didn't sound good.
Fly! Robot is not an actual flying toy.
Figure does not actually fly.
Figures not actually fly. Thank you, Lego. A lot better detail in the jet version of Shatter. I haven't transformed her yet. She got the big old plane back on her. Just filling in some spots for the Bumblebee line. Escaped eBay prices and ended up going to BBTS to get those two in. So, yeah. I'm not quite sure. That might be it for the Bumblebee line. I think I've got everything I need to, or everything that we got for that, apart from repaints of Prime that are coming up. So, yeah, something else to fill out more movie figures.
Very good, very good. Daria, it's been a while since we've had you on, Daria. So, are there any acquisitions of note you'd like to bring up?
Well, since then, I got Kingdom Rodimus, as I think a few of us did, and have everything positive to say about it that you did. I don't have him currently standing here because my apartment is in a state of cleanliness flux.
It's in a state. It's good enough. Yes.
Yeah, it's an A state. But yeah, I thought I'm every bit as impressed as others seem to have been. And the only other recent acquisition is the trade paperback of Transformers My Little Pony Friendship in Disguise.
Is that volume 1 or volume 2?
That's volume 1. Volume 2, I don't think it's quite hit trade paperback yet.
Very cool.
But yeah, I don't really know much about My Little Pony. I'm not a Pegasister, but yeah, it's fun. It's, again, obviously for kids with that kind of crossover, but with that in mind, yeah, I just had a fun bit less than an hour just reading the story, some Transformers teaming up. One of my friends who popped around saw it and realized he now had to buy it for his little wee daughter who is into both those franchises, both Transformers and My Little Ponies. So, you know, if nothing else,
is he buying the My Little Prime figure as well?
That's a good question. I know he was one of the first to show it to me, so it might depend on whether or not his daughter knows it exists.
Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Well, very quickly, I'll go through a couple of new acquisitions. It's been a while. I can't remember what I've opened up and what I haven't in the time that we've been on the podcast. Also, we're habitually doing Wednesday night video calls for people in TCA, so I get confused between what I've shown off on the video calls versus the podcast. So, with that in mind, we've got Shattered Glass Blur. He's not really that new. He's been around for about a month or so, but I did finally get around to opening him up. The sort of the back of his arm is a little bit loose there and just sort of hangs off. So we'll I'll attach some blue tack to that later to straighten that up. And then going further back into the past, I acquired some stuff. I think I talked about the pop culture sale when I talked about the Zoteki figures, making little PVC diorama. Same shipment. I got myself a Generation Select Red Wing. Very, very, very happy with him, actually. Like the color I think pops on him. The battle damage is not too egregious, so yeah, pretty happy with that. And this week he will be joined by the reissue of the Siege Rainmaker set as well.
Oh, cool!
So what I've decided I'm going to do with my Seekers for War for Cybertron is I'm going to have the main six, the Starscream, Skywarp, Thundercracker, Ramjet, Dirge, and Thrust in their Earthrise molds, and anything else, I don't need to get those characters in Siege because holy shit, it's impossible to get Skywarp. The others and Starscream and Thundercracker are okay. I do have Thundercracker, but I don't really need them because I've got the Earthrise versions. But anything else that comes out is fair game to add to a Seekers collection. So the Rainmakers, the Sparkless Seeker, I've already got that one. I've got Hotlink as well, and now I've got Red Wing as well. So like they're pretty good for Siege representations of Seekers. Plus, and I'm not sure if maybe I didn't talk about this guy on the podcast as well. There's G2 Ramjet and the Earthrise Seeker Conehead mold there as well. And,
it's nice colours on that one.
Oh, yeah, I actually like his G2 colours better than his G1 ones. So go figure.
Yeah,
a lot of people do. So very very happy with that. And I've got the G2 Ramjet and Sandstorm. I'm not sure if there's another Earthrise Seeker coming or not. There's rumours of a Coronation Starscream coming.
Is Shattered Glass Starscream that mold?
Shattered Glass is the Siege mold. I'll be quite happy with that as well. That he should be here, hopefully later this week. And there is rumors of a Studio Series 86 Coronation Starscream, which presumably would be the Earthrise mold with cape and crown and things like that.
Not even a repaint. just add the accessories to it.
Yeah. Don't even. Well, they probably will give him a bit of a repaint because they do tend to like to make the colors accurate to the movie. They did talk about this in one of the behind the scenes. One of the behind the scenes things when they were talking about the Studio Series 86 line is that they said that they were using the previous Blu-ray release of the movie as their master source for colors. So they'd pick the colors for the characters from particular scenes in the movie. So I would say Starscream at the very least he'll probably come without battle damage.
Could it be cell shaded?
I don't know if they'll do that because they haven't done that with the other.
Yeah,
the other
that's
86.
what I'd be thinking.
He'd look a little bit out of place. There is, of course, also the hope that there might be a release of Thrust, a re-release of Thrust, because there are still people looking for Earthrise Thrust in Studio Series 86 colors. Possibly that might be a good idea as well.
They released Scourge and Sweep. They're not averse to repeating themselves in this line.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. So look, so those are my. I say acquisitions, but like I've clearly got more things in boxes here that I need to open up. I still haven't opened up the Ark, despite promising that I would about a month ago. I've seen a lot of people opening up the Ark and quite enjoying him recently as well. We didn't even touch on the fact that the Ark does actually crop up in robot mode in the Netflix show.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that.
Good.
I have a robot mode
Good
now.
move.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's
getting
the thing I can do. Okay.
Yeah. Good move getting the supporting media for a toy out while it's actually on the shelves, as opposed to Jetfire, where it was a year late and everyone scrambled to find it. I thought it was well done. So yeah, I do want to open up my Ark now because it more than just sort of being like a random Titan that doesn't really have any supporting media. Now it does in fact have, there's a precedent for it. There's a reason for it existing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think we're about done. That's about it for acquisitions. I've got the new Shattered Glass figures on their way, and hopefully I'll be able to get myself an Origin Bumblebee and a Gen Select Artfire in the next couple of weeks as well.
Nice.
See how we go. Let's move on and end the show because we are at 1 hour and 50 minutes.
This will only be an hour. It's fine.
Yeah, that was what we said a while ago, right? We did touch on last time. It is a new membership year for TCCA. The membership year is now it's 2021-2022. Very happily we're seeing a lot of people renewing and a lot of people signing up for new memberships. Thank you very much, everyone, for your support on that. We're closing in on 150 members already, which is pretty great guns coming up for a month since we launched our membership offerings. There's a bit of a delay in getting some of our member packs out. COVID's playing havoc with supply chains and all sorts of things. So we're still waiting for production on some of the assets for the member packs, but they will be out to everyone very soon, we hope. That is basically it for the show this week. It's been a while between shows, so thank you for persevering with us, and thank you for listening along to the show, and thank you for watching the live record. We've seen the numbers fluctuating as we've been broadcasting in the groups and on our Facebook page and on YouTube this afternoon. You can find out more about these stories and more with links to them in the show notes. They're always published on the Podbean site, which is transformersweekly.podbean.com. You can also find links to it on the Australian Transformers Weekly page on Facebook. And of course, you can find the three of us in the Transformers Collectors Club Australia group on Facebook. We are a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. It's a registered club in Victoria, run by volunteers donating their time, effort, energy, money, and Sunday afternoons, but we're all in lockdown except for Daria, to make life better for everyone collecting in Australia. We want to connect Australian Transformers fans, and we do it by engaging the community. We turn up to conventions when we're not in lockdown. We run video chat nights on Wednesday nights, and during lockdown, we've also been running game nights on Monday nights to give people something to do while they're stuck at home. So look out for the links to those in the groups. You'll find all the info in the announcements area on those nights when things are occurring. And yeah, come and join us and just have a bit of fun. You can find out more about TCCA itself, including some membership and how to show support for what we do at transformerscca.com. Going off world, you can also find Transformers CCA on Twitter. We don't do a lot on Twitter, but we do tend to announce Australian first finds on Twitter, and a few of the big Transformers sites have started following us for that reason, which is pretty cool. You can find me on Twitter at JM77. I'm a lot more active and verbose on Twitter than I am on Facebook. Daria, did you want people to find you on Twitter as well there?
I'm on Twitter as Vindaloo_Vixen, and my tweeting pace is entirely random, so you might have to vary what you get from me.
It certainly happens, yes. And of course, you can check out Brad's Budget Adventure Show on YouTube. There's a link to that in the show notes as well.
Spoiler warning, there's no adventure happening when there's lockdowns.
Yeah. The Budget Adventure Show is limited to a 5-kilometer radius of your house, isn't it? You sort of end up having to sort of be like Bear Grylls, and you'll go out and just find adventure where you can.
I'm going to climb this tree today.
Yeah. Well, it's the Budget Adventure Show, so it's okay. Just put some dramatic music up, and you're fine for at least 3 episodes there.
Nice.
All right, that is it from us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching along with the live record, and we will be back with more Transformers news. I'm not going to say next week.
Next time.
I am going to say in the fullness of time. Thank you, everyone. And
see you guys.
Good night.